Hey folks, I'm just going to give everyone a moment here to log in and then we'll start. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you're joining us from today. Welcome to today's webinar, co-hosted by the New York Oracle User Group and Oracle partner Viscosity North America. We've got a great presenter for you today. I think the first time we get to have him here for NYOUG and Viscosity. Super excited. This is a live webinar, so feel free to submit questions in the Q&A field. And Paul, our speaker today, will get back to you as he can, whether it's during the session or immediately after. All right, so I'm expecting to see some great questions out there. And yes, it is recorded. Yes, you'll get access to the recording and the slide deck or anything else that Paul wants to share with you guys. If you're not familiar with Viscosity and NYOUG, hello, my name's Monica. I'm the marketing director here at Viscosity. We are a full Oracle Stack consulting firm, and I'll tell you a little more about it in a moment. But we've got Coleman, who's the VP of NYOUG. He's going to tell you a little bit about NYOUG, and hopefully you guys are already familiar. But if not, you should definitely check them out or your other local user group.
Thank you, Monica. So the New York Oracle Users Group, next slide. New York Oracle Users Group was formed in 1984. I guess that makes it 40 years for the exchange of ideas, assistance, and support among users of Oracle software products. Now, if you have to get in touch with me, it's cleveter@ieee.org. Next slide, please. And you can connect with us on X, Meetup, LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course, our website is nyoug.org. All these past webinars that we've been doing with co-hosting with Viscosity for the past 4 years, starting in 2020 of May, I believe, all that is on our website. So you can use that and get to our website and look at the past webinars and of course all the ones that are coming up in the future. And I want to thank you, Monica and Viscosity, for co-hosting these series of webinars with us.
Thank you, Coleman. And I'm going to try to make it as brief as I can. I'm seeing a lot of great familiar names here, so hopefully you guys are familiar with us already. But Viscosity is a full Oracle Stack consulting firm, core expertise in Oracle database, including RAC, Oracle Apex. We perform near zero downtime and even zero downtime migrations for most of our clients. We do a lot of performance tuning and high availability projects, and we've got decades of experience with infrastructure, including engineered systems. We've been prepping all of our customers lately to get ready for 23 AI, and we host workshops through orapub.com. I'll talk a little more about Orapub in a moment. As you see here, there are 3 pillars across your screen. This is what Viscosity is built upon: data, apps, and cloud. And across the bottom, we offer these services for all 3 pillars. If something here speaks to you and your organization's pain points, please let me know. I'd love to get you in touch with some folks from our team, see how we can help you. Or if you just need more training resources across these things, that's when you're going to go head over to orapub.com. All right, here's some of the books that our consultants have written. Our most recent ones are going to be Oracle Database Performance Tuning, Upgrading Oracle Databases, and within the last year, Oracle on Docker has come out. Okay, over here on this slide, you'll see some of my amazing colleagues. Hopefully you recognize some of their faces. They are very common speakers at Oracle technology conferences globally. We just came back from Kscope. We're going to be at Cloud World. We're normally at Ascend and Blueprint. So hopefully you've seen some of these guys, but if not, follow them on X or their blogs. They've got a lot of great content out there. These specific folks are part of the Oracle ACE program. And if you're not familiar with the ACE program, it is a distinguished title that Oracle themselves give to non-Oracle employees for their efforts through the Oracle community, mostly for speaking, knowledge share, even just volunteering, things like that. So we're very proud of the work that they've given the Oracle community. Okay, so orapub.com is founded and created by a former Oracle employee and an Oracle ACE director. His name is Craig Shallahammer. And as of the start of 2022, Orapub became a part of Viscosity, and Craig joined our team. So if you're familiar with him, right now he's been on a lot of like AI, ML stuff. He's created an amazing AI bot for us called Surfer Shane, and Surfer Shane can answer all of your Oracle performance questions. So check that out. You can find all that information at www.orapub.com. Aside from that, it's also where you can find all of the free webinars we host and co-host, like today's. You can find slide decks alongside the recordings, and even slide decks from live presentations that the guys do when they go present at conferences. So lots of stuff in there. We've also got virtual classes there that you can pay for, ask your employer for reimbursement, and you'll have access to anything you get through those paid sessions in your Orapub portal. All right, so check that out, and definitely make sure you head to nyoug.org or viscosityna.com to sign up for our other upcoming webinars. We've got a ton of great things on the schedule, so hopefully you join us and see more things like this. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it back over to Coleman, who's going to introduce us to the speaker for the day.
Thank you, Monica. Paul is an architect and developer advocate and has worked at Oracle for 23 years. His focus includes full stack development in numerous languages, cloud native, microservices, data and transaction processing, AI, observability, spatial, and XR. He holds 22 plus patents, has given numerous presentations, and written numerous blogs and workshops. He has been programming for over, say it, 4 decades. His blogs can be found at blogsoracle.com. Authors Paul Parkinson. Thank you very much, Monica, for the introduction before. And Paul, we're glad to have you here speaking about AI and ML today on Database 23 AI.
All right. Thank you, Coleman. Thank you, Monica. I'm definitely psyched about this. We met at Coleman and I met at Dev Live, and I gave a similar presentation, but as is the case with AI and with Oracle, in just a few months, so much has changed, and so many additions. So I'm really psyched to present this to you, and I cover a lot in this. So I will ramble, but I'll try not to mumble. But that's the idea of this presentation, is to kind of cover everything. If it's not on this slide, then it's it's something I don't know about. And I think I know about all the activities, as far as anything that's AI and touches the Oracle database. So it's going to be fairly high level, but it's going to be kind of from developer interest in particular, because I am a developer advocate, and that's why develop is green here. So I just kind of wanted to set your expectation. And I don't think there's anything I need the safe harbor for, but I put that in there. And then just the kind of the overall theme that I'm going to be repeating through this presentation is that, it all starts with data, right? And that is certainly Oracle Database's strength point. And as we get all these new rich forms of data, there are all of these opportunities, but there are, increased complexity. And so, of course, we're focused on making the most out of your data. And the overall idea being, or architecture really, is that Oracle brings AI to your data. You don't have to, send your data out to all these different sources, and I'll elaborate on what that means. So as I mentioned, the agenda is pretty packed. And so I wanted to cover everything with you guys, and then we can drill down, to a certain extent with the questions. We don't have, so much time, but certainly with questions. And then, of course, you can definitely contact me afterwards. And then also there are future presentations that are being given by Viscosity and NYOUG. that are kind of more focused. For example, there's one coming about vector, there's one coming about Apex, etc. So again, higher level, covering a lot, developer focused. Okay. So first of all, let's just take a look at the landscape. And this is the Oracle AI stack. So we're focusing on the database here, but that, touches all across the stack as far as AI. So we have all of our AI services, of course, generative AI, AI agents, digital assistant, speech. And I mean, it's amazing the rate of these new services coming out. I've been doing a lot with speech real-time transcription and using that with Select AI, actually, which I'll talk about later, which is just being released. Just an amazing amount of AI services, and I'll show how they're used with the database and how everything comes together. So this is the overall stack and landscape. And then I will touch on, or repeatedly touch on, the strengths of the Oracle Converged database. And that being, the fact that Oracle is a multi-purpose database. And so that's not the only strength of the Oracle database, but as time goes on, it shows more and more how powerful the architecture of having a multi-purpose database like Oracle with all its advantages. It really just is, worth repeating. But it's not, the only strength of the Oracle database, obviously. But you'll see all these, anytime something new comes along, when JSON came along, it's been a while since that, of course, but there's XML before that, JSON, everything added into the Oracle database. You see how they work together. And again, I'll elaborate on that, but that's a big strength. And so one of the areas, aside from all the different data types and workloads and everything in the Oracle Converged database, from a developer's perspective, those apply. But of course, the language and API support is front and center for a developer. And so from the OCI side, any OCI service has SDKs for all the languages you can imagine. And of course, you can access it with REST as well. And then the Oracle database has support for all languages. And I just say all languages because name the language. And, if it came out yesterday, there will be an Oracle driver within a month, either written by Oracle or written by the community. And so there are, drivers for every language. And then anything in the database can be exposed as a REST endpoint using ORDs, if you're familiar with ORDs. Just anything in the database you can access with REST. So that's the ultimate easy, interoperable or compatible interface or API. And then in addition to that, you can actually run Java, JavaScript, and Python within the database itself. So you've been able to do that with Java for ages. There's a new multi-language engine in the database. Well, it's not quite new, it's a couple of years now, that allows you to run other languages such as JavaScript, which is become very popular language. And then you can run I'll talk about this more later. You can run the execution of Python in the database. And of course, Python with AI and ML has just really become extremely popular. And then there are the PL SQL APIs in the database. The two main packages are DBMS Cloud, excuse me, for accessing anything in the Oracle Cloud. And then DBMS Cloud AI, which is for the SQL AI or the Select AI natural language processing that I'll talk about more. That's how you can access that with PL SQL. And then there are the outbound REST calls to external services, and all this applies to multi-cloud. Of course, our partnership with Azure and now Google, and then to popular Hugging Face where people store their models and things like that. Okay, so just utterly Swiss Army knife database. And one thing that's not on here is Apex, which is the low-code, no-code solution that has become extremely popular. Cerner uses, everybody else, to develop on the Oracle database. Okay, and so what's interesting to kind of note with this is that most AI apps will involve, enhancing or infusing is the word I keep using, AI to existing apps versus writing them from scratch. And so this dynamic aspect, you can use whatever language, it very much lends itself to microservices, which, obviously I'm not going to go into that in this presentation, but that's another thing I'm a dev advocate for. This really brings it to you so that you're not just doing greenfield stuff. You can augment your existing applications because of all this. Okay. Okay, let's get into the features. We're going to start talking about Select AI. And so, what if you could talk in natural language to your database and combine semantic searches and unstructured data with searches of business data and get better answers from generative AI by augmenting it with data in your database. So this is actually talking about a few features, but we're going to start with Select AI. And Select AI is a natural language to SQL feature in the Oracle database. And this is actually in 19. You can use this in 19. Most of the features I'm talking about are 23 AI, but this is actually 19. So I'm a big fan of all these features, but Select AI is just really cool. Like I say, it allows you to use natural language to query your data. And so the LLMs infer the intent of the natural language, okay? So, this is a translation example. We use this movie database a lot for this. So, we can break it out and LLMs understand these language concepts, obviously. So when you put it together, what are the total streams for each month for each Tom Hanks movie this month? You see this query where you can extract that. You can extract the month, etc., and get what you're looking for, right? So how does Select AI work? Well, it works in tangent with your favorite LLM, or we support 4 LLMs currently. And what you do is, again, I'm wanting to make this developer driven, so I will, even though I'm going high level, I'll show code snippets for everything I talk about. So you just create a profile and you name your credential. You create a credential to whatever it is you may be using. OpenAI is your Cohere, or obviously OCI GenAI service. Create the credential to that, then create a profile, and then you can add metadata about your actual database tables to help the accuracy of this Select AI natural language to SQL. Okay, and then you simply issue this DBMS Cloud AI generate and provide the prompt, the profile name, and the action. Okay, and there are 4 actions. One is show SQL that you see here, where it will, it sends this information, your prompt, and all the kind of meta out to your Gen AI. And then, get back from Gen AI the SQL equivalent of that natural language query. So that's one option. The second option is to get it and then run it. So run SQL and return the raw results. Another is narrate. So if you're familiar with LLMs, it's, narrate and chat are the other 2 options. And that's going to bring back natural language in those formats, in narrate or chat. Okay. So what I do in the I have a few workshops, by the way. I have some links at the end just for live labs in general, but if you search on it, I just added like a week or 2 ago a lab to my existing AI workshop where you use the real-time speech AI and Select AI, and real-time speech AI is impressively fast. And especially if you're using regardless of what LLM you're using, really, but especially if you're using the OCI Gen AI, that's very fast because you're in the cloud. So I'm talking to the data and it's feeding answers back to me, and it's just asking a million questions. You can really introspect the data, and then that's feeding back into it too as a feedback loop of accuracy. And so this is basically what I was just talking about, right? And this is what you're getting back. You're augmenting the prompt. Okay, so that's Select AI. And for all of these, there are workshops actually. And so now we move on to the next topic, which is vector and RAG. I'm going to, sometimes I won't answer the question because I have so much content, but let me check out this question here. How LLM know that movies are in the table movies? Could we surcharge the prompt with like movies? Oh, okay. No. So it's kind of 2 questions. First one, yes. Second one, no. So for the first one, you are adding in what tables are going to be part of a select AI query. Okay, and that was in this bit here. So where was that? When I set up the, see this here, we added movie stream, and then, we're adding this stuff there. Okay. Replication and migration affect transition to 23C. That's one of the ones the type of questions I say I'm going to push off to the end, because I want to get through a lot of the AI stuff. I'm sorry, I hope you don't mind, but I will revisit that at the end. Okay, so I'm going to go on to this topic of vector and RAG. And so, what you're looking for is a bit challenging. So I have a photo of an artist, but don't know the artist's name. I heard a catchy tune, but I don't know the title of the artist. I got this error message. There's a million different examples here, right? And much more complicated than these, of course. And so I imagine, most of you may have heard of vector searches by now. This is extremely popular in the industry, and as is AI, obviously. So really quick 101 on vector search. What it does is it enables end user questions to be mapped to relevant data in your database, enabling semantic searches on unstructured data. So that's the two key bits: semantic on unstructured data. Okay, it's not, when we are talking about photos here as an example, it's not I'm comparing the pixels, it's I'm comparing the semantics of that picture. And obviously the picture itself is kind of unstructured data, right? So that's, to kind of differentiate vector there. And so a basic example would be, you have words, and this is very simple, right? Just words, and you relate them in 2 dimensions. So a tiger is more closely related to a cat or a lion than, these other categories we see here. And so in the super simple 2-dimensional XY here, we see that it resides closer in location. Same idea for embedding images. So that's the thing with the vector, is it applies to all data types, like, unstructured, whatever the data is, videos, everything. I'm doing a lot looking at 3D spatial. So not just text, we're talking about images and things like that. So, again, same idea, how close they are. Okay, so the Oracle database has introduced an Oracle AI vector search. And what's kind of key about this, the Oracle strategy here, again, comes back to the converged database, which is the fact that we don't have a vector database. We have a vector type in our database, and that makes it a vector database, right? But that's very different from many other strategies, and I'll go into how that's such an impact in a bit. And so it's this new data type, it's new SQL syntax and functions to express similarity search with ease. So of course, any library that's out there now related to vector processing works with the Oracle database, but we also have the SQL syntax in the database to make it efficient within the database, and I'll talk about that more as well. And then a new approximate search index is packaged and tuned for high performance. So there's a different, indexing is quite different for vectors than what regular indexing. So that's this is the big thing in 23A, one of the very big features. So this is the vector type, and very simple. You see this house vector type. And again, this picture of the converged database we see on the left, because we're seeing JSON in there, we're seeing graph, spatial, and all of this. So it allows finding data that is semantically similar. As I say, you have a house, and you want something similar to this house. Like I just saw this house the other day. It's my dream house. I want to get something like this and, find it on Zillow or whatever it is. You take that house and you vectorize it and search on that. And you're not searching on the, the brown pixels. Again, like I say, you're looking for a house that has a similar type of roof, semantics of this house. And so what's great about, again, the converged database is you can combine that query, which is the vector distance, right? That's going to give you kind of the other pictures of a house with a roof in that style, or, you know, whatever the characteristics may be. But you're also combining that with SQL queries, and that's what's super powerful, right? You're saying, I want this certain price, I want houses that are similar, but I want them in this price range, and, you know, straight up normal SQL business logic commands. And so here's this, you know, just the basic pipeline of a simple vector search. You have your input data, you have your embedding model, and what the embedding model is doing is there are a bunch of different embedding models. And the embedding model is what takes your data, your unstructured data, or whatever it is, and converts it into vectors. And then the vectors are stored in the database as the vector database type. Okay. And so, as I say, this is true of any vector database. You're using, you know, this approach is you're using the embeddings and then storing them in the database. The fact that you can do them with SQL is a more unique feature to Oracle. So then you're putting them in the database, and then you're doing searches using another vector with using the same embedding. By the way, you can't mix and match these things to find it and then get that back. So that's the basics of the pipeline of how it works. Okay, then you get your relevant content. Okay, so now we move on to another topic that's closely related to vector, which is retrieval augmented generation, RAG. And you may have heard of this as well, because this is, you know, in 2024, this comes up on my LinkedIn feed like every other post. So, but it is an amazing technology. So there are shortcomings with LLMs that, you know, we all got hooked on for cheap tricks in 2023, right? The ChatGPT, oh, I answered the question, I got it. Now it's okay. We see the shortcomings, and we need to, we're moving this into the enterprise, right? So LLMs may have information that is outdated, it's only public, and cannot be referenced. So provenance is a huge one. All of these are big. And obviously the fact that they provide hallucinations with utter confidence, that's that's a shortcoming of LLMs for sure, right? So AI vector search can augment generative AI by retrieving additional, often private content needed to answer questions more accurately. So it's a very self-defining term. The retrieval is the generation retrieval is augmented by your data. And so your data can be, private. It's not just whatever was on the internet. Excuse me. So RAG addresses this by reusing the inference model with additional data, but without the need to retrain. So that's the other big thing, is you're able to reuse the model, but use it with your data, but not retrain the model all over again with your data. Okay, so that's what's so nice about this, one of the things. And then, so Oracle Database AI allows for rapid coding of new data and searches against that data to feed into the LLM because of those. Okay, and let me get into this a bit more. So again, this is, you avoid using sensitive customer data for LLM training, as I say. So it's cheaper, and you get real-time updates from the knowledge base, right? That stale data that you're getting from a general LLM, you're getting up to date, especially with the Oracle database, and I'll elaborate on that. That's a major differentiator, how real-time the updates are versus, and I'll say Pinecone because that's what we're all thinking, right? All of these are differentiators that you don't get with any other vector database. And like I say, I'll elaborate on that. And then you cache the previous LLM prompts to improve performance and reduce costs. That's another huge advantage. So you get better business outcomes. So LLM-based chat box with enterprise knowledge, we extend that pipeline with RAG. So this is the pipeline extended with RAG. We have that prompt, we have the session history, the chat history. We enhance the prompt, and then we use these embeddings that are in our database with our data to then get a better answer from the LLM. Okay. So the intrinsic advantage with our vector search, the general flow when you're using Pinecone or something like that is this, right? You're doing the whole ETL thing. You're taking your business data, you're generating the embeddings, and then you're putting it into the vector database, and you're doing your similarity search, right? So again, you can see where I'm going with the converged aspect of this. If it's in the same database, then you're not exporting, doing the vector, bringing it back. It's all in one spot. So that's the long and short of it. Super powerful. And again, this is the strategy we've been using over time. So this is applying to all these different models and data types we have. So here's an example, right? This isn't all, this is so many great examples, but this is a great one where you're doing a search and you're doing the vector search that I just described, but you're adding SQL and you're adding it, a having clause and a group by sum, and then you're adding the spatial in the Oracle database. And I talk a bit more about the new spatial AI stuff too, but just spatial in general in the database. Add that to your query, and then your relational, last 5 years. So with other vector databases, you'd be doing that, like I say, ETL to then bring it back in and do the queries across. Very inefficient and inconvenient. And again, I'm talking to developers in particular, right? Now you got 2 databases, you got to learn 2 things. And yeah, no purpose-built database, let alone vector database can do this. So huge differentiator. And then I won't go into all these, but again, with the converge. And then you're also getting rack, sharding, partitioning, Exadata, parallel execution, analytics and security, and in particular transactions. That's where my big background is actually over the last 20, 30 years. So that's actually one of the main reasons I came to Oracle, is that the transaction support is how much I'm into that. So this long and short of this, it's saying, with transactions, any action, and the Oracle database has the best transaction support. And so any 2 data types in the database, you can make atomic. And so how that really manifests itself, let me pop back here. There are a few things going on here as far as the indexing. There's so many advantages with transactioning, but also those embeddings. So when you are adding new data to the database, and you're generating the embeddings and inserting the vectors that those embedding models create, that can be done transactionally as well. So when you're doing reports or doing actions against the database, those embeddings and vector values are being updated. And that's why I said, it's exactly current data, atomically current data that you're getting in these using the vector search and RAG. So it's super powerful, and you're certainly not getting that across multiple databases, and you're certainly not going to use XA or something like that. So again, this is just all the abilities, all the reliability, availability features and everything that come with the Oracle database apply to vector searches and to the indexes. So all the Exadata advantages. And so, like all of this AI and everything else, this is not a new concept. The vector space model came out in the 60s, and this continues to evolve. And particularly with a lot of these different models, every week there are all these new models. It's amazing for the LLMs and the embeddings. And I'll get into, and so that's the main point here, is it's constantly evolving. And I'll get into how we're trying to help the developer with this constantly evolving. Sorry. We're getting this constantly evolving landscape. Okay. Very quickly, one of the new services in OCI is generative AI agents. So a lot of the way the AI is manifesting itself or presenting itself is with chatbots, right? Super popular use case across all verticals, basically. And so OCI has a new service, generative AI agents. And basically what that's doing it's using data sources, knowledge bases, such as OpenSearch and the Oracle database to, facilitate and optimize searches against your enterprise data. So it's doing a lot of the work for you. It's creating an AI agent which you can plug into your apps that searches your, in an optimal way using RAG and vector search and everything, as I mentioned. And you can generate them right in the OCI console. Okay. So that's I go through that like it's one slide and it's just okay, that's a thing, but that's a a major feature in OCI. Like I say, I'm trying to cover a lot here, so I want to give you get through it for you. So now there's the fallacy of the quick chatbot, right? And this is again, kind of developer focused, because we've all seen I made a chatbot in 5 minutes, but it's really not robust, and it's certainly not something you're going to use in the enterprise, and it's not efficient and tuned, especially when you're really getting into your domain and things like that. The general purpose starts to fall away, and you want to use your enterprise data and get real results. Not a terrible chatbot, and you certainly don't want to expose that to your customers and things. So, it's there is a quick chatbot, but it's not a great one necessarily. And so it's not as easy as you may think. I hate to say, but as this presentation goes on, I go a little bit more into, here's the reality. There's all this power, but to really, really and use it correctly and optimize it, you need to use it correctly. And that's exactly what we're trying to make easier for developers to facilitate, make this powerful. And so again, it's not as easy as you may think. A lot of big companies are rolling these things out. And one of the famous ones, infamous ones recently was McDonald's, where they tried to use it, and the orders were, like giving people hundreds of dollars of chicken nuggets and stuff like that. So that's an example. And, that's what you don't want, obviously, is that type of notoriety. And so what are some of the common challenges? And you can see there are a bunch of them. It's, choosing the right model. As I alluded to, there are more and more models. And depending on your use case, you can certainly be using the wrong model, or one that's not the best model, put it that way. The context window size, that I'll go into what the full context is when you're sending it to the LLM, what the context window is. The quality of the corpus, the quality of the data, the ambiguousness of the question, the quality of the prompt. I'll just kind of read these off because they are what they are. The domain-specific specialized language not seen in the, as we mentioned earlier, that general purpose models, it's stale data, and of course, the worst thing is the hallucinations. So then this is basically a list of success factors, which is the inverse of what I just listed, getting the right model choice, chunking strategy, and the re-ranking, that's, feedback, a feedback loop. So you say, okay, this was a good answer. The engine knows to, bump that up. So then next time it comes in, you do the re-ranking, etc. So all of these aspects are the success factors. Okay, let me check with RAG and OCI. Does your information stay private? Yes. i.e., it doesn't feed back to populate someone else's model. Exactly. Yeah, Robert, and that's exactly it. It does not do that. It's completely private. Yeah. So that's nailed it on the head there. Kai, if you don't mind, I will at the end, I'll come to your question. I see your hand is raised. Or if you want to pop it in chat. I'm just kind of feeling it out here to make sure I cover everything, because I have a lot here. So I hope you don't mind. So the model choice. Yeah, that's, choosing the correct model. There are so many different models. If you're dealing with pictures and video, it's not the same thing as if you're dealing with text or even audio or whatever the case may be. And the different domains, this is general purpose brought us all in with the ease of use. But when you start to get into enterprise, again, the model choice is, and that model choice is both for the actual model and the embedding model. So, that you're using to create your vectors. And so, yeah, so there's a bunch of examples on the right-hand side there. Another thing is chunking. So more often than not, when you're dealing with text and you're creating vectors, you're dealing with large volumes of text, right? Now you can make vectors out of, 6 to 4 character rows or whatever, but when you're chunking, when you're using large text, you're chunking and you're breaking it into chunks, just as you would think that word means. But the way you chunk will have an impact. So if you're chunking some weird section like this, half of a header, halfway through a sentence, and an image that was for the next section or whatever, it's not going to be efficient. So that's just one example. Chunking, structured chunking, you'll get better results. Sentence window retrieval. So, the context, the semantics of the sentence retrieval, you can imagine, you taking things out of context, right? It's not going to be efficient. And then, just this is, understanding some of the details of the context windows and those settings. And then the prompt engineering, this is an art, getting the prompt right. So the results you get back are what you want, are accurate. And that takes a lot of effort to get right, okay? And then, of course, the model parameters, the token, the temperature, temperature control of how creative the response is, right? How much the generative aspect of it can come into play. And just all of these, various settings. I won't go into all of them here. So is there an approach that avoids the downsides? The most important success factor is with the chatbot experimentation and iteration. This, at the end of the day, this is still data science, right? It's become powerful and easier, but now we're taking it to the next level where we want it to be, more powerful. And so it really is, iterating, experimenting to tweak the settings to get it correct. And so we're releasing this Oracle AI Playground, and the developer release is coming out soon. And what this does is allow you to do that. So it brings up a console and allows you to mess around with all the different models, et cetera, as you see here. And then you can run your tests, set up your ML ops, see what's working best, and come up with the best model. And that's the way to do it.
Sorry to interrupt you, Paul.
No
One of
worries.
the Q&A asked about, are we still on slide 37? I thought it was an interesting question.
Do I have? Oh no, you're not seeing the slide updates?
All we see is 37.
Oh.
And I'm sorry for the interruption because I thought
No,
it was
that's
a great question.
that is good. I'm on slide 52. Oh no.
Oh boy.
Yeah, let me stop share and reshare. I wonder what happened. Are you seeing slide 52 now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. This will be stupid, but let me just super quickly go back to 37. Obviously, I'm not going to do the whole talk again. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, I have no idea what happened there. Oh, that's a shame. Okay, very quickly. In a minute, I can catch this up. So this was 37. Vector search continues to evolve. I didn't scroll down on the chat over here. Okay. This is the agents that I mentioned. So this is a new OCI service where you can use OpenSearch and the Oracle RAG database to create chatbots in the console that you can then embed in your applications. This was me saying that the, chatbots are not easy, especially when you're making an enterprise one. These are some of the challenges. And then, the success factors are combating those challenges. And some of the big ones are the model choice, how you go about chunking, how the sentence window retrieval, understanding the context window, prompt engineering, model parameters, and then now we're caught up. So not too bad, I guess. And then I was talking about this new product. This developer release will be coming out soon for AI Playground. And what that does is, again, it's, as I say, it's really data science. You have to experiment and iterate to find the best models for your enterprise. And to make that easier, it's this tool that's coming out where you can tweak all the parameters, run it through your ML ops, et cetera. Okay. Thank you so much, Neil. that could have gone on even longer. Okay, so the next topic, moving into the Python space. So, there's, kind of your four pillars. I hate to rule out, there's the .NET and Rust. I'll actually put into the same C pillar, your Java, your JavaScript, and your Python. That's kind of, if I had only four buckets. So Python has risen tremendously because of ML. Because historically it's been used a lot in that space. And so I like this section actually because I've been talking about all these 23 AI features, and I am talking about more 23 AI features. But this OML for Pi has been in the Oracle database for a very long time. And what it does is it has really enabled the R and Python developer, because what you can do, this is the traditional Python data source interaction, okay, where you're reading and writing files to your Python app, and you're doing the whole ETL thing. You see this where I'm going again, maybe too, with the converge, the same thing with vector and rag. With Python, this was the general developer's experience. If you're not using Oracle database, you're popping in and out of the database, doing this translation, etc. But with OML for Pi, which, as I say, I'm forgetting the date, but it's been, many, many years that this has been in the database. And what it allows you to do is the execution of the Python. You're working on your desktop or on your laptop on Python. The execution context is actually in the database right next to your data. Okay, so amazing performance. You're using the database optimized ML algorithms, that are right next to your data, like I say, but you're managing them with Python, and then you can invoke these user-defined functions, and you can augment it with whatever third-party Python packages. So just if you're a Python developer today, take whatever you're doing and just bring it over to OML for Pi, and now have an optimized solution, right? And then use of AutoML API for in-database ML algorithms. I have a quick slide for each of these, but that's what's going on here. So you're able to use all the pandas, matplotlib, all the common libraries, but it's firing off these instances on the database side. And again, the Oracle database is free. A lot of people don't realize that, but you can use the Oracle database with the container and cloud version for free. So you're using the database's compute power to fire off your Python. So the pretty awesome way. I was in PyCon, and everybody was, so many of these features are just unknown. Like I say, this has been around for a long time, but it's just, we're trying to spread awareness. And so very powerful embedded execution, as you can see here. You could fire up your Anaconda environments, all the normal stuff. Like I say, if you're coming from Python, it's not a huge transition to this. Your notebooks, your Jupyter notebooks, right in the browser, you can create and generate your Jupyter notebooks or whatever you're using. And then also supports AutoML. So if you're familiar with AutoML, it will inspect the data and do an auto algorithm selection for what's appropriate. Of course, you get to approve it. Then auto feature selection and auto model tuning. So this is, back to, we were showing all the existing models, how to use the existing models with vector, rag, and all the other features I just mentioned, select AI. This is where you're training models in the database with your data, with all the popular models that are out there. And a lot of these models that we have in the Oracle database, these are open source models, and we brought them into the database. So they're executed there. You don't have to import them. They exist there. And then you can bring in any models that are not there via Onyx import. I have a slide for that as well. But anyway, this is just code. Like I say, I like to show code for using AutoML. And this is, as I mentioned, you generate notebooks with that. And okay, here we go. I knew I had a slide. It's been around for 24 years, 25 years or so in the database. So it continues to evolve, which leads me to my next topic, which is Oracle Spatial. So Oracle Spatial has been in the database for about the same period of time, and it's a native spatial type. So again, you don't need an extra database. You have spatial type in the database. And so your, points, lines, polygons, all the spatial operations. And now there is Oracle Spatial AI in the database in 23 AI with spatial algorithms. And so you can do queries like, where are crimes clustered? Where are the unemployment hotspots? The predictive analysis. This is, the like vegetative maintenance. This topic, this use case comes up all the time in the past year for me, at least. Things like that, predictive AI predictions using spatial data. So these models are now part of the database for you to use, so you can drive insights, as I say, predict and detect. Just check my the opened here, make sure we're on the slide 67 together. So these are, common scenarios addressed by spatial algorithms. So, you have your predictive influence of nearby values. So very quickly, your spatial dependence, heterogeneity, clustering, co-location, etc. And some examples of that you can now use with the models in the database. And again, as I say, these are popular, for the most part, open source models that you would be familiar with if you're in this space. But you can bring in any model you want through the ONNX, ONNX import. And that's true also of any of the models. So any of the embedding models that are out there, whatever ResNet, I'm using ResNet a lot, which is one for often used for images. All these different models you can import via that ONNX compatibility format. So if it's not in there, you can put it in there. So Oracle Spatial AI, we have all the Python APIs for the spatial SQL operators, pre and post processing, and then Python REST and SQL APIs to invoke those models. So again, this from the developer perspective, you develop them and they're exposed in whatever format, whatever language or API you want for your application. So this is my job to try and make sure this is easy. So if any of this is not easy, again, let me know. And here's an example, a code example again, using detecting density clusters, using localities. Okay, and that's just a summary of what I just mentioned. So the other cool thing, this is actually the last thing I'm going to talk about, is graph technology exploiting all the new AI capabilities in the Oracle database. And so this is another thing I find this fascinating is, graph technology in general, if you're not familiar, graph is showing the relationship of data. So the popular use case we use all the time is money laundering, which is, a big one, obviously, in the financial sector. With graph technology, you can find the flow of a transaction through the system and detect, re-entrance and money laundering and things like that. Where if you were just using relational, or certainly JSON or document, you would have to write, a million joins and things like that. So it provides that relational, I shouldn't say relational, it provides those connections of activity and property graph between tables. And so that can actually be fed in as embeddings, as we were talking about before, to your LLMs and machine learning. So here's an example, and this is machine learning, as I've been talking about OML for Pi in the database, using the common deep walk and GraphWise models in the database for ML. And then, as I say, using the embeddings of the graph in your RAG application. So the relationship I keep using relationship. You know what I mean as far as graphs. To make a domain so it can be fed in. So there's a relationship between this data, these tables. That is, you create embeddings from that and feed it in. So now, it's just such a powerful mechanism. And again, all in the same database. So you can do all this mixing and matching of these data models for your queries. It's just really awesome. And just one other quick note, as I mentioned, using relational or JSON or graph in the Oracle database, they do not have to be stored separately. So the same data can be acted upon using JSON and document APIs and relational. So that's a feature called JSON duality views, because you create a view using GraphQL on your relational data so that you can read and write to it using JSON, even using the Mongo APIs. So Oracle database is actually better for Mongo than Mongo is because of these features. And so anyway, and with graph. So it's not only this converged, it's actually the same data, but that data is stored relationally and normalized, so it's optimized. So just, super powerful for developers too. It's this one-stop shop for creating your solution, just very convenient. And it's just really cool too, because it's not just convenient, it opens up new use cases because you have at your disposal, all this spatial and all this other data that's coming in, so you can create queries and create, solve use cases and create new possibilities that weren't actually, thought of because you couldn't do them with another database. So went through a lot of content, actually got through that in pretty good time. I know I went fairly high level, but hopefully you get the concepts. And I really appreciate your time. These are just some QR codes if you want to take a screenshot. I definitely plug myself all the time, but I didn't put my blogs on here. But check me out on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from any of you because I do blog about all these topics. And this is the database 23 AI, so that's a good portal, the first one to everything need. There's an AI solutions hub, which is just what it sounds like, anything AI. There are, I don't know how many, there were like 60 as of a month or two ago. So that, different solutions, like a healthcare example, both vertical and horizontal type solutions. And then live lab workshops. Just about every group in Oracle writes workshops for their products, and including me, I write a bunch of workshops. So definitely check them out if you get the chance. And I'll leave that open and ask if anybody has any questions.
While y'all think about your last minute questions, just reminders that today's webinar is recorded and you can find it at nyoug.org or at www.orapub.com, and we will send emails out once it's all loaded. All right, no more questions?
So, Monica, I just want to chime in for a moment that, well, thanks, Paul, very much for very instructive and, and very full webinar. I just want to go that on the heels of Paul will be next week on Tuesday will be Sean Stacy talking about database 23 AI vector database. Again, add more to it. Next, and the following Tuesday, August 20th, will be Mark Suits. We'll be talking about the app creation with the Oracle Apex. And finally, the end of the month on Tuesday, August 27th, it'll be Gary Gordhammer, who's managing principal consultant of Viscosity, talking about database patching the right way or out of place. So thank you, Viscosity.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coleman, for that. And thank you so much, Paul, for presenting for us. I hope you come back and present again.
Definitely, my pleasure. I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to grab slide decks from Paul and we'll post those for you guys too. Until then, I hope you guys register for the upcoming webinars that Coleman just shared with you, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you so much. Take care.
Yeah.